So Craig Carson, who has the show in the morning, the Carson Show. You guys know what I feel about that show, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. He announced that he's going to be having a new host with him, a co-host, and it's Dave Jacoby. Now, Dave Jacoby worked at ESPN, was recently let go by ESPN, and he used to be a co-host to Jalen Rose, which, by the way, Jalen Rose no longer work at the Worldwide Leader of Sports. It was Rose and Jacoby, or Jacoby and Rose, whatever. They had a show like on ESPN2 as well as a podcast together. Well, now he's going to be a co-host to Craig Carson. Now, I feel like this could be a good fit. Dave Jacoby, he's always linked up with, with a lot of different personalities, particularly with ESPN before he made the best connection with him and Jalen Rose. I feel like him and Jalen Rose had great chemistry together. I don't know how Craig Carson and Jacoby is going to match up on a show. I'm pretty sure they had practices and things of that nature. And, right off the bat, they're not going to, reinvent the wheel or, have this incredible chemistry together. But over time, it'll build and develop. You guys know how I feel about Craig Carson. When Fox Sports 1 introduced their fall lineup, and they was going to put First Things First in the afternoon, and what was going to take First Things First spot in the morning, which, by the way, I felt like First Things First is and will always be known as a morning show. But they moved it later on in the afternoon and gave their spot to Craig Carson. Now, I'm not no huge fan of Craig Carson. I watched a couple of episodes here and there last year. I just wasn't feeling it. It's like a low budget Pat McAfee show without the energy. The one thing I like about Pat McAfee and what he brings to the table versus Craig Carson, I think Pat McAfee has, the energy, the charisma, and, he has great chemistry with the host. And it just looks like when they're in the studio, you see everyone scattered all over the place. And it looks like chaos, but it's controlled chaos. And, that's why I continue to watch Pat McAfee. Now, as far as Craig Carson goes, and by the way, I watch Pat McAfee on his YouTube channel. Okay, I haven't watched anything as far as his debut at ESPN. I think that's going to be later on this month. But anywho, Craig Carson, I felt like Fox Sports 1 was trying to clone a Pat McAfee, so they got Craig Carson. Craig Carson's studio is similar to Pat McAfee, but it's very bland, basic, and boring. I just didn't get a good feel of that show. And when we was talking about their fall lineup last fall, I told you guys I just didn't have a lot of faith in the Craig Carson show. And for them to sign David Jacoby, that just speaks in volume a lot. Now, the new regime who hired Craig Carson and trying to make a big splash with him on the Fox lineup, with this recent announcement, that just tells me that the boat be sinking on the Craig Carson show. And they're just trying to mix things up and add something to, maybe spike the ratings or get people watching the show. And I think I think more people are going to watch the show, particularly people that once watched Rose and Jacoby. I think a lot of those implant fans who watch him with Jalen Rose are going to watch him on Craig Carson. He's not a if you haven't watched David Jacoby, he's not a guy that's going to command the room and take control of the room. He pretty much just adds substance to whatever the host is. Well, with Jalen Rose, he was a good setup man, he was a good pitch man, and he would just flow off of Jalen Rose. And I felt like that's why that dynamic worked so well. I was totally shocked that ESPN let go of Jalen Rose, and they also David Jacoby. But I feel like if he adds that to the Craig Carson show, it'll probably do some wonders. But I still feel like they need something else there if they want people to continue to watch this show. And I told you guys last fall, I felt like 2 of these shows are probably not going to make it, and I felt like I was very harsh on the Craig Carson show. I just didn't. I felt like it was a dead man on arrival, dead man walking type of show. I don't see this Craig Carson experiment lasting no more than maybe 3 seasons, possibly 4, and they're going to pull the plug on it if nothing doesn't change sooner rather than later. Now, the other show that I talked about was Speak. I felt like Speak was way too conservative, and I wasn't too sure how the dynamic between Joy and Acho was going to work. I forgot the running back who used to run for the New York Jets, Shady McCoy. I just didn't understand how that dynamic was going to work. But Speak, it started off as a football show, and I think Speak has low key had a lot of success, and it deserves an opportunity to develop and flourish with this new Fox lineup, particularly with Undisputed and their new lineup. The Herd show is always, throwing up the numbers. And, speak for yourself. Even though I don't like how they changed the time frame, it's no longer in the morning, it's more so in the afternoon. But still, I watch and support the show. I feel like if Craig Carson does not make it this year, doesn't make a huge splash this year, it would not surprise me none if you start hearing rumors next year that there's a possibility that the Craig Carson show is done. I like David Jacoby. I think I'm butchering his name, but I just feel like they're gonna cut the cord on Craig Carson and maybe move him to another show. So I still hope he has a future with Fox Sports 1. It just seems like Fox Sports 1 is making some solid signings of personalities that used to work at ESPN. So yeah, that's all I got for this. I'm gonna talk about on the next video. I'm gonna talk to you guys about the new lineup over there at Undisputed. Okay, deuces.